We've all heard this line before, haven't we? From a fairy tale, from childhood stories, maybe even from our own playful moments in front of the mirror. But let me ask you something. What if the mirror could actually talk back? What if the mirror wasn't just showing your face, your hair, or your clothes, but reflecting your character, your choices, and your truth? When you stand in front of a mirror every morning, you don't just see how you look, you see who you really are becoming. The world might applaud you, criticize you, or even ignore you, but the mirror on the wall, it never lies. So today, let's have a conversation with that mirror. Let's ask it the tough questions. Because the one who can face the mirror with honesty can face the world with courage. Self-reflection is one of the greatest sources of inner strength and clarity a person can ever develop. And this is exactly what the mirror on the wall reminds us of every single day. When you stand before a mirror, it does not argue with you, it does not flatter you, and it does not condemn you. It simply reflects the truth of what is in front of it. That is the power of self-reflection. It is a process of turning inward and asking yourself difficult but necessary questions. Am I living according to my values? Am I becoming the person I aspire to be? Or am I drifting away from my true path? In a world where we are constantly surrounded by noise, distractions, and the endless opinions of people, we often forget to pause and check within ourselves. Self-reflection is that sacred pause where we listen not to the world, but to the quiet voice of our own conscience. The mirror teaches us that real power does not lie in controlling others, but in understanding ourselves. A person who is unaware of their own weaknesses, blind to their own mistakes, and unconscious of their inner state will keep repeating the same cycles again and again. But the one who has the courage to stand before the inner mirror and say, "This is where I need to improve, this is where I went wrong, and this is where I must grow," is the one who will truly evolve. Think about it. When a student looks into a mirror before leaving for school, they adjust their uniform, fix their hair, and ensure they look neat. Why? Because they want to appear presentable to the world. But imagine if every morning we also stood before the mirror and adjusted our attitude, fixed our thoughts, and ensured our intentions were clean before stepping out into society. How much more beautiful would our lives become if self-reflection was as important as self-decoration? Self-reflection is power because it prevents us from blaming others for everything that goes wrong. It shifts the focus from what they did to me to how did I respond and what can I learn. When you engage in this inner dialogue, you stop being a victim of life's circumstances and instead become the author of your own growth. You recognize that external success, wealth, or recognition means little if your inner world is unsettled. A person who has mastered the art of reflection can walk through failure with dignity and success with humility because they are not defined by outside noise but by inner clarity. The truth is, the mirror on the wall is not just a piece of glass hanging in your room. It is a reminder that the greatest mirror exists inside you, and it reflects your deepest values, your truest intentions, and your most authentic self. When you begin to reflect daily, even if only for a few minutes, you begin to catch your own blind spots before they become habits. You begin to recognize patterns before they become chains. and you begin to align yourself with the person you are truly meant to be. That is why self reflection is not weakness, it is not overthinking, and it is not self doubt. Self reflection is power because it transforms your inner world. And once the inner world is transformed, the outer world automatically begins to change. The mirror shows us our appearance, the shape of our face, the color of our skin, the way we dress, and the way we present ourselves. But the danger is that we can become so obsessed with what the mirror shows on the outside that we forget to examine what it cannot show on the inside. The truth is, appearance can deceive, but authenticity never does. You can put on the finest clothes. You can polish yourself with makeup or perfume. You can stand tall and smile wide. But if there is no integrity within, if there is no sincerity behind your actions, the world may be impressed for a moment, but you will not feel fulfilled for a lifetime. The mirror teaches us a very deep lesson. Beauty fades, but authenticity grows stronger with time. Think about it. Society constantly pressures us to look a certain way, to fit into standards of beauty that are often unrealistic, temporary, and superficial. Social media amplifies this obsession by rewarding appearances over authenticity. People are chasing filters, angles, and likes. But what happens when you are alone at night with no filters and no audience? The mirror on the wall reminds you that all the outer decorations are temporary. They can create an image, but they cannot create identity. Your identity is rooted in who you are when no one is watching, in the values you live by, in the kindness you show, and in the truth you stand for even when it costs you something. There is an old saying, a beautiful face will age, but a beautiful heart will shine forever. Authenticity is that beautiful heart. When you are authentic, you do not live to please the world, you live to be aligned with your conscience. You are not constantly changing yourself to fit into someone else's approval, because you have already approved yourself by staying true to your principles. And ironically, when you stop trying so hard to impress, you become far more impactful, because people are drawn not to perfection, but to honesty. They may admire your looks for a moment, but they will remember your authenticity for a lifetime. The mirror also teaches us that appearance can be manipulated, but authenticity cannot. You can hide scars with makeup. You can hide fatigue with a smile. You can even hide your true feelings with carefully chosen words. But deep down, you know who you really are, and sooner or later, the people around you will see it too. That is why the most powerful reflection is not the one you see with your eyes, but the one you feel with your soul. The greatest compliment someone can ever give you is not, "You look good," but "You are real." Authenticity does not mean being perfect. It means being genuine, being transparent, and being consistent in who you are no matter where you are. When we begin to live authentically, we experience freedom. We no longer live under the constant stress of maintaining an image. We no longer waste energy pretending, and we no longer feel the emptiness of superficial praise. Instead, we live with peace, because we know that whether people applaud or criticize, we are being true to ourselves. The mirror shows the outer appearance, but life tests the inner authenticity. And when the two align, when what you show outwardly matches who you are inwardly, that is when you find real happiness, real strength, and real connection with others. Beyond the glass mirror that hangs on our wall, there is another mirror that follows us wherever we go. And that mirror is our conscience. It doesn't reflect our face, our hairstyle, or our appearance, but it reflects our actions, our choices, and our inner truth. While the mirror on the wall shows us how we look to others, the mirror of conscience shows us how we look to ourselves. We can fool the world with charm, with words, and with outward presentation, but this inner mirror cannot be deceived. It sees through the masks we wear. It whispers to us when we go astray, and it calls us back to the path of integrity when we are tempted to compromise. Think about it. How many times have we done something we knew was wrong and immediately felt that inner discomfort? That uneasiness is the mirror of conscience speaking. You might smile outside, you might pretend that everything is fine, but inside, the reflection is clear. You know you are not aligned with your values. That discomfort is not a punishment. It is guidance. It is the conscience telling you, this is not who you are meant to be. Just as a physical mirror warns you, if your face is dirty or your clothes are not straight, the conscience warns you when your actions are misaligned with your principles. It becomes a compass, pointing you toward your true north. The problem, however, is that many people stop listening to this inner mirror. They drown it out with excuses, distractions, or the opinions of others. Over time, if you ignore the conscience too often, its voice grows weaker, and you may even start believing your own lies. This is like covering a mirror with dust. Eventually, you can't see your reflection clearly anymore. But the beauty is that with honesty and humility, you can always clean the mirror of conscience. Every time you pause, reflect, admit a mistake, and realign your actions, the mirror becomes clear again. Unlike the mirror on the wall, the mirror of conscience is not concerned with how attractive you look, but with how truthful you are. It asks questions like, did you speak with kindness today? Were your intentions pure? Did you stand up for what was right, even when it was hard? And the answers to these questions give you a reflection that no one else can see but you. This reflection shapes your character and ultimately your destiny. A fascinating thing about this inner mirror is that it rewards you with peace. When your conscience is clear, when you know you have acted with honesty and sincerity, you sleep with calmness at night. You may not have impressed everyone, you may not have pleased everyone, but you know you did what was right. That inner peace is worth more than all the applause in the world. On the other hand, if you betray your conscience, even the loudest applause will not quiet the unease inside you. You can decorate your outer life with wealth, status, or beauty, but if your inner mirror shows a reflection of dishonesty or hypocrisy, no external achievement can satisfy you. So the true mirror in life is not made of glass, but of values. It is not hanging on the wall, but resting in the heart. To look into this mirror every day is to ask yourself, am I living a life that I can respect when I look back at myself? Am I being true to what I know is right? When the mirror of conscience is clean, you live with dignity, and even if the world misunderstands you, you remain unshaken because you know that you are aligned with truth. And ultimately, this inner mirror is the only one you will face at the end of life, the reflection of who you truly became. Many of us spend a lifetime avoiding the truths that the mirror both literal and metaphorical, tries to show us. We are often tempted to look away, to distract ourselves, or to justify our actions rather than face the reality of who we truly are. The mirror is honest, and honesty is uncomfortable. It does not flinch, it does not flatter, and it does not negotiate. It simply reflects what is, and this is why so many people shy away from it. It is far easier to blame circumstances, to criticize others, or to pretend that problems do not exist than it is to stand still, face yourself, and acknowledge the areas where growth is required. But every time we avoid the mirror, we avoid an opportunity to improve, to learn, and to align with our highest potential. Facing truth is not easy because it requires courage, the courage to admit mistakes, the courage to confront weaknesses, and the courage to take responsibility for our choices. It requires us to acknowledge that we are not perfect, that we have limitations, and that sometimes we fail the very principles we claim to hold dear. Many people spend years running from this mirror, filling their lives with distractions, noise, and superficial successes, hoping that the reflection will somehow change if they ignore it long enough. But the truth has a way of surfacing. No matter how much we avoid it, the mirror will eventually demand to be seen, and the longer we wait, the harder it becomes to face what it shows. The world is full of illusions, and we are surrounded by pressures to conform, to impress, and to maintain appearances. Social comparison, societal expectations, and the desire for approval can make it seem safer to ignore the mirror than to confront the reality it reflects. Yet, the moment we summon the courage to look directly into it, we begin to see the clarity that only truth can provide. We begin to recognize the patterns in our behavior that hold us back, the habits that sabotage our progress, and the unspoken fears that prevent us from reaching our potential. The mirror becomes not a source of fear, but a source of empowerment, because facing truth is the first step toward transformation. Escaping truth might give temporary comfort, but it cannot provide lasting peace. Avoidance may make life feel easier in the moment, but it also allows unresolved issues to accumulate, creating inner conflict, anxiety, and a subtle but persistent sense of dissatisfaction. On the other hand, when we confront the truths reflected in the mirror, even the painful ones, we are taking control of our life. We are refusing to let denial dictate our path. We are choosing to act with awareness, integrity, and intentionality. The mirror is a teacher that asks the hard questions. Are you being honest with yourself? Are you accountable for your actions? Are you doing what is necessary to become the person you aspire to be? The greatest freedom comes when we stop running from ourselves. Facing the mirror is not a punishment, it is a gift. It allows us to shed illusions, discard pretenses, and recognize the areas where growth and change are possible. Those who have the courage to face the truth gain resilience, self-respect, and a clarity that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. When we embrace the mirror, we learn that reality, no matter how uncomfortable, is far more powerful than illusion, and that personal transformation always begins with honesty. Every step we take toward facing the truth reflected in the mirror is a step toward a life of authenticity, peace, and fulfillment, because no one can deceive the mirror, and in the end, it is only the mirror that truly matters. Every day, before we face the outside world, there is an opportunity to pause and check in with ourselves. This daily check in is far more powerful than we often realize because it connects us with the person we are becoming, not just the person we appear to be. Life moves fast, filled with responsibilities, challenges, distractions, and expectations from others, and it is easy to lose sight of who we truly are in the process. But the mirror offers a simple, yet profound invitation. Take a moment to reflect, to evaluate, and to recalibrate. When we do this consistently, we develop a rhythm of self-awareness that becomes the foundation of personal growth and fulfillment. Imagine starting each morning not just by looking at your reflection to fix your hair, tidy your clothes, or check your smile, but by looking deeper, by asking yourself meaningful questions. Am I approaching today with the right intentions? Am I prepared to act with kindness, patience, and courage? Am I honoring the values that define who I truly want to be? These moments of self-check are like mental and emotional stretching. They prepare your mind, heart, and soul for the challenges ahead. They help you navigate your day with clarity and purpose. Rather than drifting through life, reacting to external pressures and events, the practice of daily reflection also builds resilience. When we take a few minutes each day to assess our thoughts, emotions, and actions, we begin to recognize patterns that either serve us or hinder us. We notice the triggers that provoke anger or fear, the habits that drain our energy, and the choices that elevate or diminish our spirit. Awareness itself is powerful because it gives us the chance to course correct before small issues become major problems. Just as a sailor adjusts the sails in response to changing winds, a person who reflects daily can adjust their behavior, mindset, and approach in response to life's challenges instead of being tossed about by circumstances. Moreover, this daily check-in fosters accountability. When we look in the mirror each morning and ask ourselves the hard questions, we cannot hide from our intentions or our actions. We begin to hold ourselves responsible for how we respond, how we treat others, and how faithfully we live according to our principles. Over time, this accountability becomes a habit, shaping our character and strengthening our inner integrity. It teaches us that external validation is fleeting, but internal alignment creates lasting satisfaction. We learn to honor ourselves first, and in doing so, we are better able to contribute positively to the world around us. Perhaps most importantly, daily self-reflection nurtures a sense of gratitude and perspective. It allows us to recognize what we are doing right, to celebrate small victories, and to acknowledge our progress, even amid challenges. It reminds us that growth is a journey, not a destination, and that every thoughtful pause, every honest assessment is a step forward. By making reflection a daily habit, we gradually cultivate a life where our actions are intentional, our values are clear, and our direction is guided not by chance or external pressure, but by conscious choice. Ultimately, daily check-ins with ourselves are not merely a ritual. They are a commitment to self-honesty, self-improvement, and self-respect. They create a bridge between who we are today and who we aspire to be tomorrow. The mirror is always there, waiting for us to face it, and the more we engage with it consciously, the more we grow, the more aligned we become, and the more fulfilled our lives can be. It is in these moments of reflection, however brief or frequent, that we build the courage, clarity, and wisdom to live fully, authentically, and purposefully. The mirror is not just a reflection of our appearance or a tool for self checking, it is also a profound teacher, silently guiding us to understand life and ourselves more deeply. Every time we stand before it, we are given a chance to learn, not just about our face or our posture, but about our thoughts, our emotions, and the choices we are making in our lives. Life, in many ways, mirrors this process as well. Just as the mirror reflects what is true, life responds to the energy, intentions, and actions we project. If we are careless, unkind, or dishonest, life presents lessons that compel us to notice and correct our course. If we act with integrity, compassion, and diligence, the mirror rewards us with clarity and the satisfaction of alignment. The lessons the mirror offers are simple but profound. It teaches humility, reminding us that we are not perfect and that there is always room to grow. It teaches accountability, showing us that our actions have consequences, whether we are aware of them or not. It teaches patience, because change does not happen instantly. It is the accumulation of small, consistent reflections, insights, and corrections over time that shape our character. The mirror also teaches courage, because to face ourselves honestly requires bravery, bravery to admit mistakes, bravery to confront uncomfortable truths, and bravery to embrace change even when it feels difficult or inconvenient. What makes the mirror such an effective teacher is its unwavering honesty. Unlike people, it does not judge us with bias or opinion, nor does it offer empty praise or harsh condemnation. It simply shows us what is. And when we learn to see ourselves as we truly are, rather than as we wish to appear, we gain a kind of wisdom that cannot be taught by books or lectures. It is experiential knowledge, the understanding that our inner world directly shapes our outer world, and that the quality of our thoughts, intentions, and actions determines the quality of our experiences. Another lesson of the mirror is acceptance. We often focus on what we want to change, criticizing ourselves for perceived flaws or shortcomings. Yet the mirror teaches that before we can improve, we must first acknowledge and accept the reality of who we are. Acceptance does not mean complacency or resignation. It means facing the truth without denial or distortion. When we accept ourselves honestly, we gain clarity about where change is needed and where our strengths lie. This awareness is the foundation of meaningful growth, because true transformation comes from understanding, not from self-rejection or illusion. The mirror also teaches us consistency. Just as we see our reflection each day, the lessons it offers are repeated until they are learned. Life works in a similar way. Challenges, setbacks, and even successes often come in cycles, inviting us to reflect, learn, and apply the lessons. Those who resist learning repeat the same patterns, while those who embrace reflection gradually develop insight, maturity, and resilience. Each glance in the mirror is a small opportunity to practice self-honesty, to notice habits, and to make adjustments. Over time, these small, consistent reflections lead to profound personal development. Finally, the mirror teaches the value of inner beauty. Beyond the physical appearance it reflects, the mirror becomes a metaphor for character and conscience. It shows us that the qualities that endure, kindness, empathy, integrity, courage, and love, cannot be faked or hidden. These qualities are visible not to the eye, but to the reflection of our own soul and to the way our actions ripple out into the world. When we treat the mirror as a teacher, we begin to focus less on superficial appearances and more on cultivating these lasting virtues. We learn that the most important reflection is not the one others see, but the one we recognize in ourselves when we are honest, intentional, and aligned with truth.